My late best friend Jason Reedy loved to fish. It was his favorite hobby, and he had plenty of patience for it. His technique could be called into question, though. Rod holders were prevalent in the 90s, but Reedy, he settled to lay his pole in the bank or just stick it in the ground. This week on Bill Roseberry Stories, I'm telling the tale about the time this technique went seriously wrong for him, and he almost didn't recover from the shock of it. I'm Bill Roseberry. Welcome to my channel and enjoy this original fact or fiction feature from my storytelling series that offers plenty of tales of family, friendship, and Gen X nostalgia and serves it up on the regular. Reedy fumbled through his wax paper worm cup, searching for the most mouth-watering catfish cuisine. He found a fat, juicy, extra wiggly nightcrawler and jammed his hook into its body. The cool breeze off the lake felt soothing against his skin on the quiet, warm afternoon. This was his personal heaven. He loved to fish. Visiting the private lake in Mason's dad's backyard had become one of his favorite rituals. Only the families in the small Fosterburg subdivision fished these waters, which meant no crowds, no noise, and, more importantly, monsters lurking in the secluded depths. He stood confidently on the bank, rod in hand. The mission for the day was a hefty catfish, and a fresh nightcrawler was the ultimate bait for the big-bottom feeders. Reedy had his essentials staged around him like a tactical command center, a liter of Dr. Pepper, his heaping worm cup, and a fresh pack of Marlboro Reds. Mason was only a few hundred feet away at the house, helping his dad with yard work, but for all intents and purposes, Reedy was alone in his paradise. He looked at the fat worm on the hook, certain he had the perfect snack to lure out his Moby Dick. He drew the pole back and cast the line deep into the dark, glass-still water. The ripples spread out, disappearing into the shadows. Reedy bent down and jammed the handle of the pole deep into the soft, silty soil of the bank. He plopped down behind it, twisted the cap off his soda, and peeled the foil back on his smokes. It was a risky philosophy, leaving the pole in the dirt instead of his hand. But Reedy was carefree about it. He pulled a red from the pack, lit it, and took a long, satisfying drag. Then came the big swig of Dr. Pepper. Now the vigil began. If there was one thing Reedy had patience for, it was fishing. He could sit there for hours, suspended in the silence, waiting for that one big bite. Mason's dad peeked down toward the lake from the yard. "How's it going, big boy? You gonna catch the big one today?" "I don't know about that, but I'm sure gonna try," Reedy yelled back with a boisterous chuckle. He sat patiently as the minutes ticked by. No hits. He eventually reeled in, swapped for an even juicier worm, and cast back out. By the time he reached for his fourth cigarette, the sun was beginning to dip, casting long, eerie shadows across the water. Mason came out of the house to help his father rake grass clippings, glancing toward the bank. "Has he gotten any bites yet?" "No," his dad replied. "He's just been sitting there, smoking and drinking that soda. That guy was born to fish." Mason headed back inside for a moment. And that's when the silence broke. Reedy had the Dr. Pepper bottle pressed to his lips when he saw it. Over the rim of the plastic, the tip of his pole gave a violent, sudden twitch. His heart skipped a beat. He spun to set his soda down, his adrenaline spiking. He reached out, his fingers inches from the cork handle. But it was too late. Like the Starship Enterprise warping to light speed, the pole didn't just wiggle, it launched. It shot out of the ground, hissed through the air, and vanished into the dark water before he could even close his fist. Reedy's eyes went wide. He lunged aimlessly toward the surface, but the lake had already swallowed the evidence. He sprang to his feet, staring in pure, unadulterated astonishment at the empty spot on the bank. Mason's dad saw the whole debacle from the hill and raced down to the water. He found a disheveled, shell-shocked Reedy pacing the bank in a tight circle, both hands clamped on top of his head. "Oh, man! Oh, man!" Reedy muttered, his voice a dazed whisper. "What happened?" Mason's dad asked, breathless. "Looks like Moby Dick decided he wanted a new pole." "Oh, man! Oh, man!" Reedy was like a skipping CD. Those were the only words his brain could process. Mason returned from the house and saw the scene, instantly deducing what had happened. He traipsed down the hill, fighting back a laugh. "What happened, Reedy?" "Oh, man, I don't know. The damn fish just stole my pole," Reedy finally managed, his voice cracking. "Oh, man." Mason's dad walked up and put an arm around Reedy's hulking shoulders to steady him. "Don't worry, big boy. I'll dredge the lake until I find your pole." Reedy just stared at the spot where his gear had vanished. The surface of the water now perfectly, mockingly still. "Oh, man. Damn, man." Reedy never really recovered from losing that pole. The retelling of this story always seemed to haunt him. Me, on the other hand, I thought it was hilarious. Every time Mason's dad saw Reedy, he reassured him that he was still dredging the lake for his pole, but it hadn't come up yet. If you like this crazy tale, click like and subscribe, and be back here on Bill Roseberry Stories next week for my next story of original content. Leave a comment too. I'd love to hear your thoughts on my videos. Also, join the waiting list to be one of the firsts to get my upcoming debut fiction coming-of-age suspense novel, A Matter of Life and Death. It's packed with Midwestern noir settings. See what happens when 4 boys discover an abandoned home in the woods and find $8 million. Why is the house abandoned? Where did the money come from? Twists and turns lead you down a dark, winding country road to an unforgettable ending. And best of all, 2 of the main characters are based on Reedy and I, with the fiction anchored in our childhood and lives. I'll see you next week with another Fact or Fiction feature right here at Bill Roseberry Stories.